while you and me repeat. This bittersweet heat is suffocating.
Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to show you guys how I achieve this neutral halo eye look using the Anastasia Master Palette by Mario. So if you want to know how to get this look, then just keep on watching. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is prep my skin, and I'm using the GLAMGLOW Glow Starter Mega Illuminating Moisturizer all over my face. I love this because it smells really good and it adds a nice glow to your skin, so I like to use it underneath my foundation. And then I'm going to use the GLAMGLOW POUTMUD Wet Lip Balm Treatment just to moisturize my lips. Moving on to the eyes, I'm going to prep my eyelids using the Benefit Stay Don't Stray eyeshadow primer. I really like this because it's thin and it cancels out all the discoloration. So I'm just going to pat that in all over my eyelids using my ring finger and then set it with a translucent powder, or you could use a skin tone colored eyeshadow. And I'm just using a Real Techniques setting brush to do so. And then going into the Master Palette by Mario, I'm going to take this first shade, Isabel, which is a really warm kind of orangey tan shade, and I'm using a Morphe M441 brush, and I'm going to use this color as a transition shade, or like my first crease color, and I'm just going to pack the color like on the outer third and inner third of my eye, and then use whatever left on the brush to sweep it through the crease. That way you get a softer finish in the middle, but the shade is still connected all the way through and you don't have like a gap, but you get more pigmentation on the outer and inner third of the eyes. Next, I'm going to pick up the shade Violeta, which is a nice, more neutral, deep chocolatey brown, and I'm going to use my My Kit Co-Pro 1.14 brush, which is a really nice, small, but tapered blending brush. It's really good for detail work or like making something really focused in the crease. So I like to use that to sort of deepen up and add more dimension to the outer and inner third of the eyelid, and then just going over with that Morphe brush and blending it through just so you get a little bit of the deeper color through the crease, but not too much. You want most of the pigmentation to be on the outer and inner third to really make that middle shade that you apply pop and give you that halo effect. And then for the center of the lid, I'm going to take the shade Paris, which is a really, really pretty bronzy shade. And I'm going to use my Sigma E58 cream color brush, and I applied this wet, so I just sprayed my brush with a little bit of the Urban Decay All Nighter spray. You could use Fix Plus or whatever you have, and I'm just going to pack that onto the center of the lid. To prep for falsies, I'm using my L'Oreal Telescopic Mascara, which is one of my favorites from the drugstore. And then I am popping on my Loco lashes in the style Sweetheart, which are really pretty mink lashes. And then just going in with my Anastasia Dark Side gel liner to line my waterline. Moving on to the skin, I'm first going to prime my skin using the Hailey's Beauty Hailey's Primer, which is a really nice pore filling and smoothing primer. For foundation, I'm using the Anastasia foundation stick. I am in the shade Warm Natural. I have been using these foundation sticks a lot lately, and I really love them because they're super convenient. It's not messy, you don't have to touch it with your fingers, you can just apply it directly to your face. I get a nice medium coverage with one layer, but it's definitely buildable in layers well. My favorite way to apply it is with my Sigma 3D HD Kabuki brush, which is what I'm using here, or the Sigma F80 brush. I think that it blends really well into the skin using a brush, and I kind of prefer it with the brush than with the Beauty Blender. And then to highlight and contour, I'm using a couple of products from Amazing Cosmetics. So I'm using their Perfection Stick Contour to Go, I think it's called. This is in the shade Deep, and it's not really deep, but it works well for my skin tone. So if you're like a light to medium, I think that it would work well. It's pretty warm tone, which I don't mind because I like the bronziness of it. And then for concealer, I'm using the Amazing Concealer in the shade Light Golden and applying it in my usual places with a Morphe S4 concealer brush. And then to blend out my contour, I'm using a e.l.f. small stippling brush, which is my favorite thing to use for blending out my cream contour. I like this stick because it blends really easily, and it's not super dark, so it'll give you a nice bronzy shade without being too harsh. And then to blend in my concealer, I'm just going to use my damp beauty blender.
Light is gonna come. The birds have just begun. We will always take a stand for the people, for the land.
And then to set my under eyes, I'm using my Laura Mercier translucent setting powder and applying that with my beauty blender. And then setting the rest of my face with this Japanese Velvet Touch finishing powder and using a large powder brush. I think this is the Morphe E2 brush. And then to set my cream contour and really sculpt the face, I'm using my Anastasia contour kit. And I just mix all three of the contour shades and use my Morphe M143 large fan brush to kind of sculpt and bronze up the face. I like to use my Sigma F40 and just take that middle contour shade from the contour kit and really sculpt out my cheekbones and just like around my temples. And then just gonna dust off any of the excess powder using my Sigma F37 brush and then going back into the translucent powder with my beauty blender to clean up my contour. To contour my nose, I'm using that middle shade from the contour kit again with a Luxie M207 brush, which is probably my favorite to use for contouring my nose because it has a nice angle, but it's soft and it blends really well. And then after you clean up and blend your nose contour, you can just dust away the excess powder. I'm just using the Sigma F37 again. To finish off the eyes, I'm going back into that Isabel shade, and I'm using a Morphe M433 brush and just blending that all along my lower lash line. And then taking the shade Violeta, you want to mimic the halo effect on the lower lash line, so I'm taking that with a Morphe M431 pencil brush and putting that on the inner and outer thirds. And then taking the Paris shade and just packing that on the middle of the lower lash line. And then to highlight my inner corners and my brow bone, I'm just using a pencil brush with the shade Marina from the Master Palette. To coat my lower lashes, I'm using the Pixi Lower Lash Mascara. Blush, I'm using my Marc Jacobs Air Blush in Flesh and Fantasy and applying it with my Morphe E4 brush, which is my favorite blush brush. And then for my glow, I'm using the Anastasia Ultimate Glow Kit, and I'm using the shade Amber Gold and applying it with Anastasia's A23 highlighting brush. For my lips, I just wanted a nice nude lip, so I'm using the Urban Decay 24/7 lip pencil in the shade Rush to line my lips, and then going in with the Bite Beauty Amuse Bouche lipstick in the shade Honeycomb over top, which is my very favorite, like, classic lipstick nude color. Lastly, I'm just going to set my face with my Urban Decay All Nighter spray, and that is the completed look. So I hope you guys all enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video.
Mistakes